Good morning. Welcome to the e-learning. Hello, I am Navdeep, working as PGTIP in Cambridge International School, the SUA. Students, today we'll start learning one more topic on SQL. In the last lecture, we have discussed the installation of MySQL. So today we'll start with the practical part and we will do how to work with the data definition in SQL. So moving forward, so today's our main task is that how the data definition is performed in SQL. Data definition is nothing but it deals with the uh, structure of the database. So how to deal with the structure part? Because before mounting the data inside the database, first we need the structure of the database. So that is handled by the SQL data definition. So moving on the today's topic. So you know that now we are focusing on the unit number 4. So students, we have already covered what is DBMS, key concept in DBMS, what are the different keys in a relational database, and in last lecture we have discussed the installation of MySQL. So we covered with the basic diagram of the database. So we have discussed the real life applications of database. Then we discussed the example of a school. So students will focus on this database in our practical part also. That is the guardian table, student table, and the attendance table. So all these are the part of a database. We'll name the database as school. So all three tables will be part of the student database. Oh, sorry, school database. Students, then we discussed about the relation schemes and their description of their attributes. Then we took the example that how our basically table look like. So this is the example we discussed. Then we discussed the different keys in a relational database. We started with the candidate key. What is a candidate key? That is a probable candidate for a primary key. A table can have any number of candidate keys. Primary key, so each table can have at most one primary key that is responsible for uniquely identifying a tuple in the relation. Next, students, we discussed about the composite primary key that is basically made up of by combining multiple attributes. Foreign key that is used for joining two tables, and they can be more than two also. So then we discussed here, this is the basic view of the our tables and how they relate with each other. Students, how we are going to perform all these operations using SQL. So SQL is provided by the different organizations, like we have MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server by Microsoft, and in market there are a huge number of uh, DBMS are available. Now the next we discussed about how to install the MySQL. So I hope students as you have all installed MySQL, but still if you find out, we'll discuss this topic very thoroughly because sometimes we encounter problems here in this part. So it's better that we take the help and install as soon as possible, because after installing we can perform the practical part on our system. So this is one more view how to basically give the username and password while login. So students, the next is data type of attributes. The data type, the attributes that are used in a table, their data types. So we started with the data types. What are the commonly used data type in MySQL? The very first is character and varchar. So character is used where we have fixed number of characters, like in mobile number We know that mobile number is of 10 digits. Like where we use for name, address, because they are variable in length. So some of the uh, that names, some names are smaller, some names are bigger. Similarly, some addresses are small, some addresses are bigger. So where we use the varchar data type, so it saves the memory for us also. Then we have integer. That is, we know that what is integer is a number without fraction. Then we have float data type and date to record the date of birth, date of joining, like this. For that we use the date data type. Then we moved, the new topic is that is constraints. What are constraints? So constraints are certain types of restrictions on the values, data values that attribute can have. They are used to ensure the accuracy and reliability of the data. Like students, we put a constraint on students that to appear for the final exam, you must have 75% of attendance in school. So like this, we have constraints. Clear? So what are the different types of constraints in MySQL we are going to implement? First is not null. What is not null? A common it ensures that a column cannot have null values. What are null values? Students, null values are values we place where we don't know the value to be put into a cell. Like that a student has appeared for the exam and his examination sheet is lost. So how we are going to enter the marks of that very student? So that is, we will place the null value because we don't know the marks of that very student. So null values are used over there where the values is missing or values is unknown or not applicable value. So the not null constraint means that we cannot enter a null value. The second constraint is unique. So unique constraint, it ensures that all the values in a column are distinct and unique. The third constraint is default. So default value specifies for the column if no value is provided. So if we don't explicitly mention a value for a particular attribute or column, so then the default value is assigned to that very column. Then is the primary key, students. The primary key is the column which can uniquely identify each row of a record, each row or record in a given table. So when we have to identify a particular instance or particular row in the table, so for that the primary key is very, very important for us. Finally, the foreign key. So foreign key, the column which refers to the value of an attribute defined as the primary key in another table. So like in our table, student table, guardian ID is acting as a foreign key. We'll all do this practically on our uh, MySQL platform. Now students are focusing on the SQL for data definition. What is SQL for data definition? Like how to create the structure in for a database using SQL. So for that part we have data definition, that is also called DDL, data definition language. The statements that fall under data definition, they are called data definition language commands. So with the help of which we are going to create the structure of the database. So we will all do this. What is a schema is, what is data type, attributes, constraints, everything that we have done theoretically. Now we will do that practically. Now how the SQL for data definition is implemented, for that we will have to now move to the MySQL platform. So without losing any further time, students, now we will start our practical part. So here students, you can see the command prompt, and my first statement I am going to use is show after login uh, into the MySQL. So first statement is show databases. So show databases, whatever the databases are there in MySQL, that will be shown to you. So by default, these are the few of the databases which are there. So you can use any database. Like I want to use the test database. So it will show me the test. The database is now changed to test, and here I can use now, I can see its tables. So for that, how I can see its tables? So for that, I have a statement named as show tables. So here in show tables, there are no tables inside the database. This one we will use another database. Let's say use MySQL database. Now the database is changed. Now I give the command show tables in this database. So students, there is a huge list of databases here. Now students, we move to our today's task, that we are going to start how to create a database. So let's say I create here, for our practical part, I create my database. For that, the statement is create database, and then is we have to give the name of the database. So let's say the name of the database is school. Clear? So you will see the message is one row query, okay, one row created. So my database is now created. So under this database, now I will create my table. So let's say we start with the first table. So that before that, we have to use this database. Use database. Now my database name is school. So now whatever we'll do under the school database. Now we will create our first table. Create table, and then you have to specify the name of the table. So let's say the name of the table is student. Then mention your attributes. First attribute is roll number. Then it is data type, like integer is it is data type. Then student name attribute. So you can name anything. Then its data type is varchar. Let's say 20. Then is the next attribute is student date of birth, and its data type is date. Then is guardian ID. So like let's say keep it as capital to make it more interactive. Character 12. So this is the guardian ID. Then we have finally the last is the primary key. So let's say let's make it this, we'll do it a bit later. Primary key roll number. So we will make the roll number as the primary key in this query table. Okay, now just put the semicolon and enter. So one row query affected and zero row affected. So like see here, my query is successfully. Now students, if I want to see the structure of my table, so for that we have a whether my table is made or not. So for that we have a command describe table name. So table name is student. So here you can students, you can see the structure of the table. Like first we have a field, that is our columns, roll number, student name, student date of birth, and guardian ID. Then is their data type integer, and this is the length. Clear? This is the length or maximum value that we can have of 11 digits. Then the student name can have up to length up to 20 characters. Then student data type of student date of birth is date. Data type of guardian ID is character 12. Character is fixed, varchar is variable. Then in roll number we cannot place a null value because it is a primary key. And then here in student name, student date of birth, we can have null values also. So students, we have done the very first part, is that is the how we create the tables. If you want to see the list of tables, so we have one table in this particular database, that is tables in school. This is school is my name of database, and student is my name of the table inside this very database. Now students, moving to the next command is alter table. So alter table students, this command is used to alter the structure of the database. We can change the data type of a attribute, we can remove a attribute, so we can insert a new attribute, we can modify a attribute, so like this. So let's say we apply on alter table and table name is my student. Then I want to apply the modify operation on student name, and you see here students, the length of the student name is 20, varchar 20. I want to change its length. Let's say varchar, let's say we make it to 30. I want that we have some certain student name whose name is bigger than 20 characters, so we make the varchar length as 30. So just place now semicolon and enter. So you see here zero row query is okay and zero row affected. So you can now see the describe student, that is to see the structure of the table, student table. So you see here now the students, the length is now have moved to 30. Earlier the student name length was 20 characters, now it has been changed to 30 characters. So students, today we have just done how to basically perform the basic data definition statements in MySQL. Clear? Data definition is how do we deal with the structure of the database. So hope you practice all these commands. You may face some problems because initially installation is difficult a bit for students, and sometimes how to start with the this part is bit difficult for them. So you need not to worry, just practice, ask the queries where you are stuck, tell me that where you are unable to find the solution, where you are stuck in installation, whether your some commands are not working. So you can ask me, you can contact my WhatsApp number also. Many students ask me questions over on my WhatsApp number. So I welcome all you if you have any query, because initially you will face some problems. So my humble request is ask query as many as query as you want. So students, now we move to the closing part of the lecture. So I thank you all for attending this session. Thank you. Thank you very much.